Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to wake the world up to what's possible for healing, one brave word at a time. And here today to help me with that mission are a couple of the amazing authors of a new poetry book that we have coming out. You guys, I'm so excited about this book, 100 Poems and Possibilities for Healing. Some of you know that I'm a poet and that I've been a poet pretty much all my life. Since I was a teenager, I've been scribbling little corny poems about boys in my journals, and that developed into other things. And out of all of the collaborative projects that we've published over the years, how I never thought of doing this before now, I don't know, but I am so grateful to Lulu and Elizabeth and all the rest of the co-authors who said yes to being in this book. It is soul-filled, y'all. Just energy is other level. So let's talk to a couple of these amazing poets today. Elizabeth Kipp is a stress management and historical trauma specialist who guides people to unleash their healing power. And Lulu Trevina is an artist, women's workshop leader, and soulful living coach. She believes a new depth and breadth of personal tenderness is needed for ourselves. Ladies, welcome today. How's it going?
Hi. Well, thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here.
I am so glad you both are here. And it's been a while since I've been able to be with you on Zoom and see you and hear you. And I am so excited that you two are the first of our series of these interviews, because you two women are some of the most kind, gentle, wise women I know. You, Lulu, and Elizabeth.
Thank you.
And over the years of knowing both of you, you know, the universe works in mysterious ways. Like, I don't put these interviews together on purpose. I just let the scheduler take care of who is together for the interviews. And I saw your names and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have the wise woman's circle in my Zoom room this morning. Like, this is going to be amazing. So Elizabeth, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about the story that you wrote behind the poetry.
Well, I really I grew up with a lot of emotion in the household, but I wasn't allowed to express my own. And I could see that there was pain in the house, in the family, but nobody talked about it. But you could see it coming out sideways all the time. And anyway, it created a lot of chronic pain in me, stuff, repressing all those emotions and stuff. So it's no wonder that I turned into a stress management specialist. and I went through a long time with chronic pain, and I finally healed from it. And one of the things that I used to help me heal, other than allowing myself to feel emotions, was writing. And I found poetry was this beautiful space of exploration and rhythm. And it kind of didn't matter what corner of my world or the world I was exploring, or what rhythm happened to show up in the moment. It all worked out. And so I have a pretty big body of poetry. And this is the first time I'll have actually formally published any of it. So I'm like really excited to come out in this book. It's kind of an opening for me. So the poetry that I brought in was around healing and being kind of like brave enough to step into the courageous, the feels, they're scary, right? Let's do it anyway, because it's so healing. So that's kind of the focus of my chapter and my business.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe that this will be the first time you've published some of your beautiful poems. Thank you for that honor. Do you guys know, like in school, poetry was a thing, and the way that they taught it totally turned me off. And I immediately thought, oh, this isn't good enough for anyone because it's not following the rules that I was taught that, that say this is poetry. Elizabeth, did you have that at all? Like, did you have to break through that?
Oh yes, I had lots of English poetry too, and I studied one of the semesters at college. One of my freshman year, I studied English poetry, and very structured, and it is what it is. And I love, like, sonnets, and Shakespeare's work is astonishing. I've spent a lot of time in that work, but um, for me to color outside of the lines was a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, for you and a lot of people for sure. Well, a little bit in a few minutes, these powerful women are going to actually read a poem, you guys. So get ready for that. I can't, I'm just so excited about sharing these words. And on an interview, we get to hear the spoken word, which is just absolutely one of my favorite things about poetry is the spoken word version. Lulu, tell us about the story behind your poems.
Yeah, thanks, Laura, and nice to be with you, Elizabeth. I also have a strong connection to poetry for a long period of time, teenagehood. Mine wasn't so much about boys, more about existential questions of beingness. So kind of, deep, emotion writing and poetry kind of are this dance together. And I've always loved that I've had that myself as an outlet. So in my chapter 12, I talk about that old sort of saying, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words or names will never hurt me. And I always thought that was a lot of BS my whole life, that, people can say things or use words and they can be quite destructive. So that's why I called my chapter Nectar or Poison, Words Wound or Heal, because, they are a powerful thing that we have with words. And, when we can string them together, it can kind of like hold our heart very tenderly, or it can smash our heart. So, I wrote from an experience that was hurtful to me. And, everything that happens in our life is very personal to us. And when we try to explain it to someone else, it never kind of can quite meet, where it's felt in our body. Our somatic experience is very important. But with the use of poetry, I find that's kind of my closest thread that, connects me to what's inside me and what I can share with others. And that meets the other person where they're at as well, which I really like. So yeah, I'm so glad to be in this collaboration. And I have actually shared my poetry with others in beautiful Ginny Robertson's women's magazine numerous times. And that was through a beautiful connection with you, Laura. So yeah, I really appreciate those things that we do and how we connect with each other and how we can support each other in life. And I hope the poetry in this book does that for everyone.
I love what you said about poetry being the closest to that somatic experience in terms of words. I definitely feel that as well. And I was asking Elizabeth earlier about, like what you learned in school. What was your experience when you started writing your soulful poems? Did you compare to anything from what you were taught? How did it go down for you?
Yeah, I definitely was not a great English student. I kind of didn't understand that formatting of essays and, that type of thing. But, when I wrote a few lines, they captured a lot for me, as a teenager. So in school, poetry felt like a real drag, like this heavy thing. And I kind of wanted it to have movement and freedom and spaciousness and all of that. So that's what I hope to do with my poetry, is that it's a breathing, living thing. And yeah, I've been influenced by many a poet, and Mary Oliver comes to mind at this point in time. And I think, you know, the arts and beauty is what, you know, the human being is longing for so much more, you know, as we, you know, and we're women in a different age group than maybe some women. And, you know, it's that nurturing and that nourishment that we get from beauty and art and words. And, you know, sometimes it's just simple, you know, simple phrases that can be so nourishing. So, yeah, I've come a long way from my childhood understanding of poetry to now. And, you know, I think we can claim poetry how we want to claim it.
Yes, we can. So, so this book is very purposefully the author poet's story behind their experience, and then we have the beautiful poems that they're including in their chapter. And then, you guys, I asked them to include a writing prompt for you all so that you could read through the story, read through the poems, and then maybe dabble a little with your own journaling, your own thoughts. And each of those prompts come from the author, the question they had for you, right? And this is a piece of why I'm in love with this book, because we're not just going to give you all these amazing poems. We're going to ask you to step up and reflect a little bit on something there and get involved. And I love what Lulu was saying about they are alive, there's breathing, there's movement. Like, we want that for you too in the experience of this book. Lulu, I'm going to stick with you for this next question. What's the most important thing you want someone to know? Maybe somebody who hasn't dabbled very much with poetry about it.
I guess, you know, because we're definitely combining poetry with emotion and the somatic experience. Well, that's how I'm viewing it, is that in society we have these sort of good emotions and bad emotions. And I would rather people sort of see what it is from that emotion that maybe that message can bring us. So, you know, in this book, there'll be poetry that touches kind of raw nerves for people, and others that like lift them higher than they could imagine. So, you know, that whole kaleidoscope of emotion, you know, may we be as humans more accepting of that in ourselves, and also maybe more accepting in others. So I think that's, you know, what I hope mainly.
I love that. Beautiful way to think about that. I want listeners to really understand the challenge my authors took to lay their hearts and souls on the line on these pages in black and white for you. I feel so grateful to be in this community every day. Elizabeth, yeah, go ahead.
Think, you know, because I know lots of poets and also authors in your group. Sometimes when we're revealing it, it's claiming it for ourselves as we're doing our healing, as well as being very bold and courageous with giving it to others. And sometimes our families don't know, you know, and sometimes people around us don't really know some of this, and we're kind of stepping forward very intentionally, which, you know, I honor each author and poet for doing that.
Yes, definitely takes a little bit of warrior to step up and do that. And thank you both for doing that so brilliantly. Okay, Elizabeth, what's the most important thing that you want our listeners to know about poetry?
It's a level of intimacy that I love Lulu bringing that word in, acceptance. Because for me, it's kind of whatever's coming up for me in this moment is honest, and I'm going to get intimate with myself, or I'm going to get intimate with my relationship with the other person maybe that I'm trying to relate to, or I'm listening to. It's a deep listening space. So for me, the poetry writing piece is I end up getting still. I kind of bring in the long, deep breath to calm myself. So I have a friend that wrote this book, Nurturing Your Writing Calm, to help us just kind of get into that space where we can truly hear what's happening on the inside. and get intimate and be brave enough to do that, to step in and get intimate with yourself and what you're feeling. And however that comes out is however it comes out. Give yourself permission to write what's coming through for you.
Thanks for saying brave, hence brave healers, and the courage it takes to be vulnerable, which is, well, vulnerable, but also you all show up. You take responsibility for your awareness and your energy. And that right there makes the community so badass. But that's where it takes some courage sometimes to take responsibility for the words, like Lulu was saying, the energy that you show up with, and to really pause and show up in the way that feels aligned for you. I honestly can't say enough about all of these things with you two today. Elizabeth and Lulu, I'm going to ask that you read one of your poems that you chose for today. So Elizabeth, let's start with you and tell us, some of you title your poems. Sometimes poems don't have titles, you guys. I'm just talking to the listeners. Sometimes poems rhyme, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're written in big, long lines like a book paragraph, and sometimes they're one line at a time. Sometimes poems sit on a page in the middle of the page and they are 2 words. And what I'm saying is, it's all poetry. If it's your beautiful, brave words, it can be a poem. It's poetic. It's connected to that place, right? And there's so many different forms of them. And if I could say anything to anyone who was wondering, ooh, can I write a poem? Yeah, you can write a poem because there are no rules here. So having said all that, Elizabeth, are you ready to read yours?
Well, that was a poem.
That was a poem, exactly.
That was a beautiful piece of performance poetry right there, man. Yes, I have, I'm going to share with you my poem, Katie Bird, which is, really, I had her in mind while I was writing this, but I named it afterwards. It was kind of interesting. Her name was Katie, and she, beautiful woman, but suffered with anxiety and self-esteem issues. But like I said, beautiful woman, couldn't see her own light. So I wrote this poem, Katie Bird. Soft whispers, dear sister, I hear you crying in the night. I promise it's going to be all right. No matter what has occurred, your words won't go unheard. Soft as cotton, you're not forgotten. Release your doubt. It's okay to say how you feel. Let it reveal the pulse of life. Oh, life is rife with struggle and strain. Take the pain and transmute it with compassion. Rise through those ashen remains. Isn't it strange how we can exchange a word, a wound, for further growing and deeper listening to our inner knowing? So let the tears fall like holy rain. Shower yourself with forgiveness again and again. Let your heart break wide open. Rope in love from below, above, and all around. Astound us, for you're already crowned. I believe in you. Can you believe in yourself too? Come with me to the river. Its cleansing waters will deliver healing emotion. Live in devotion. Walk your path resolute. Execute it with precision. And get your glisten and glow on, beautiful soul.
Katie Bird by Ms. Elizabeth R. Kipp. Thank you so much, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Oh, I love it. I love, love, love hearing these words. Okay, Lulu, are you ready to read yours?
Oh, thank you, Elizabeth. Mine's called When You Are Careless. I think most people can relate to some time in their life, where some of these things may have shown up for them. When you are careless instead of caring, it injures. When you use sarcasm instead of sincerity, it wounds. When you withhold or withdraw instead of connect and embrace, the pain is unbearable. Love thrives with the ingredients of care, sincerity, and connection. Turning away with detachment is in opposition to running towards in partnership.
Oh, okay. That was When You Are Careless by Lulu Trevina. Thank you, Lulu.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so if we can manage to move on to like normal questions now. I don't know if I can do it, but we'll try. We'll try. Lulu, I'm going to stick with you. We've got one more question for both of you. And I think right now in this time in the world, this is a good question to ask of you. There's a lot going on, isn't there? If you had to pick one simple step to practice on a day when everything feels impossible and overwhelm is kicking in, tell us what that would be. Tell us a little bit about what you would do.
I would definitely connect to myself by using a hand towards my heart. And often for women, I would recommend a hand towards their womb or their belly. And just take your awareness as if you're moving inwards very slowly. So often we're kind of eyes open, we're in the world, eyes closed, we're kind of going to sleep or something like that, or maybe meditating. But just allow it to be kind of this gentle coming towards myself, that type of invitation. And then close your eyes and just connect to your breath and just follow the breath. I think the breath is a gift that we have always with us. So, you know, we can always slow down, connect with our breath and find the in-breath, find the out-breath, and have a sense of gratitude for our breath.
I love when you authors talk about breath work in an interview, because I always get the mini version of it right now. And I wonder if you listeners are all breathing now. Isn't that lovely? Right? Just take that big pelvic bowl breath. Yes, Lulu, that is a powerful, powerful technique in overwhelm when you're feeling overwhelmed. I love that.
And combining it with that, you know, because we tend with our eyes open, we're kind of in the front of our body. When we come back to ourselves, we're actually dropping back down and towards the back of our body. So even when coming out of having your eyes closed, it's really good to just slowly open eyes as well. You know, like I'm opening into my environment again. You know, it's kind of reminds me of the sunrise and the sunset. It just slowly comes up. It's not like not there, then there, you know, which we tend to be in ourself. So, you know, that dropping in slowly and that coming out slowly with the breath and the visual of coming back into what we call the reality of, you know, time and space.
Thank you for that gift. Elizabeth, how about you? If you had to pick one simple step to practice to help our listeners with, maybe on a day when everything is feeling impossible, chaos, overwhelm is kicking in, tell us a little bit about what that would be for you.
I do the same thing. I'd bring in the breath. It's interesting because the mind follows the breath. And so if I'm perceiving chaos in the world, my perception, no matter how the world is, it might be chaotic and it may not be, but my perception is there's all this chaos. Not just the breath, right? And I'm just going to refine a little bit. I love the placing the hands, that's really important. Finding ease in the breath and a long, slow and deep breath, keeping that exhale as long or a little bit longer than the inhale really sets the nervous system into calm and And so overwhelm becomes, because we're calming the nervous system, maybe at least 5 or 6 of those, maybe 3 minutes of those, and the nervous system really gets the message that it feels safe. And then you'll find that you reset. The mind actually will change and calm, because the nervous system's now calm and feeling safe. This is the power. This is the breath is powerful on so many levels. The other thing, you can think about it in a spiritual point of view. We all know in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. And where does the Word live? It lives on the breath. So if I'm feeling disconnected from all of it, I get into the breath and I remember my connection again. So same method. It's just kind of like a slightly different perspective on it. Yeah, very important.
Perfect and beautiful. You ladies brought that together so powerfully. Oh my goodness, what a gift you both are. Oh my goodness, Lulu Trevina, Elizabeth Kipp. Thank you so much for what you do in the world and for being here today to share it with everyone. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you,
Thank you
Elizabeth.
so much, Laura. Thank you, Lua.
So something that you heard today, you guys, I know you're getting the goosebumps because I am. And I want you to know that this is way more than a poetry book. It's a very generous community. Drop down into the show notes. I have these ladies' websites there for you to click on and explore and go see what they're up to, because it's a lot and it is awesome. And they're there for you to answer a question, maybe continue the conversation that we started today. Maybe you want to hear more poems or read more poems or see all of the things that they offer. Please go click on those links and explore further. And of course, you're invited to join us for the book launch party. It's going to be on January 12th in the new year of 24. I'm going to gather with all of our co-author poets of 100 Poems and Possibilities for Healing. We're going to be celebrating our book and dropping some wisdom and inspiration and, of course, poetry for you that day. And if you're listening to this interview anytime that date or after, that just means the book's already on Amazon, you guys, so that you can go pick up your copy. And lastly, everyone, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it is time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.